I'd been inside his man cave, he'd spruced the place up a bit too, all very IKEA kitchen chic. Still, if I'd been thinking of moving in permanently, and the thought did cross my mind, I'd have to get rid of that overstuffed library in the corner. So many tales from throughout time and space, from all the many corners of the universe. Some about him, some about me, and even some about those pesky little humans he encourages to fawn over him. No, they'd all have to go. A girl needs somewhere to store all her shoes. Not to mention her large collection of assorted tissue compressors. Of all the places on this miserable dust bowl of a planet, Montmartre is perhaps the most tolerable. Although, in this era, I find it's lost much of its appeal. The 18th century, those were the glory days. Back then, it was a place of sheer possibility, of decadence and excess, where you could get away with anything you wanted. And I usually did. At least until he showed up.
Votre pastis, mademoiselle. Seriez-vous désormais prête à commander?
Usually, I'd be only too happy to start giving orders. But today, I'm waiting for an old friend. Ah, that sounds like him now. It's all right, everyone. Remain calm. He's a doctor. Although, judging by the look of it, I'd advise you all to avoid the fish. He'd made a right mess of the place. People running left, right, and centre, screaming about the portal that had opened in the bathroom. I'd never been so proud. Not that he looked at all pleased to see me, as I helped him up and dusted down his lapels. He was all, "What are you doing here?" And, "You're the reason these Tyrellians are chasing me, aren't you?" I might have taken umbrage, but he does look so fetching when he's cross. Tyrellians? But aren't they a race of librarians or bookkeepers or something equally as boring? "Oh no," said the doctor. "They're anything but boring." He whipped out his sonic screwdriver and gave his best action pose. I love it when he does that. "Right now," he said, all grandiose and momentous. "We're the only ones standing between the Tyrellians and the complete collapse of Earth's time streams." Oh, the pastis wasn't up to much of it. Come along, Doctor. Hurry up and save all these miserable little humans so we can get on with what's really important. That's when he gave me the eyebrows. He'd been practicing too. Today, they looked particularly severe. "Don't you get it?" he said through gritted teeth. "They keep winning. No matter which way I turn, no matter what I do, they're always there." Just like all the other dictators that have ever tried to occupy this planet. They move in, take control of the media, run a campaign of terror, and then slide effortlessly into power through whatever means necessary. Sometimes it's a military coup. Sometimes they engineer a global catastrophe.
And other times, it's all-out war. They're using reality-bending technology to interlace different time streams, forcing the present to snap to a succession of alternative timelines in which their invasion is successful. Oh, come on, Doctor. You've fought wars before. You know how to do what's necessary. Well, that certainly seemed to rattle his cage.
Missy, I'm asking for your help.
Now, that's a rare thing.
Every time I beat them, he said, they just dial up another alternate timeline and start all over again. I need to find a way to stop them. I can't do this alone.
Well, I said, if it helps you get your wriggle on. Ugly brutes, aren't they? I wonder what's hiding behind those masks. Now, stop hiding your light beneath a bushel. Oh, well, yes, I take it back. I can see where you're coming from with the masks now. Oh, pop it back on, would you?
This isn't working!
He was getting grumpy now. Any minute he was going to start off on one of his lectures, giving forth on the virtues of peace, trying to reason with the monsters. I needed that like I needed the end of the world. Look, you do your thing. Get into their systems and shut it all down or whatever. I'll hold them off. Once again, he did his thing. Took control of their system, reasserted the timelines, switched everything to a timeline where he wins, because if you haven't noticed, he does like to win. Now I have to cope with Mr. Smoke for the next half century. Oh, why the long face? Sad that your little game is over.
It's not over,
he said, performing his usual trick of sucking all the joy out of our little victory.
Unless we can find a way to destroy their technology, it's just a temporary reprieve.
Oh, I'll take care of that. Ooh, I do love this bit. One, two, three. Kaboom! There. Problem solved. The doctor is never satisfied, though. I'd already saved his precious little planet, but now he wanted me to help him save a handful of useless humans, too. Well, that was invigorating. I can see now why he likes this sort of thing. But that's enough playing now. You see, the thing is, Doctor, this time, I need your help. It was a classic, a relic of another time and place. A beautiful Type 40 TARDIS. His beautiful Type 40 TARDIS, or at least the one he'd stolen all those many moons ago. I took a deep breath as I placed my hand on the door. I loved the smell of the old machine, the gentle vibration of the wood. It reminded me of so many adventures, back when we'd both worn different faces, back when we were different people altogether. Asking the doctor for help wasn't something that came easily to me. In fact, the very idea of it turned my stomach. On rare occasions, though, one has to swallow one's pride. Even if it does have a tendency to stick in one's throat. It wasn't something that seemed to sit well with the doctor either.
I could tell that he thought I was up to something. Perhaps I was. But this was one of those rare moments, and we'd had a few over the years, where our interests temporarily appeared to align. Not that he knew it yet. "Well," he said, with a disapproving glare. "Well, I can't say I like what you've done with the place. Where are all the roundels? And the hat stand? Dear me, Doctor. Did you lose all sense of taste when you last changed your face?"
"Missy,"
said the crotchety old spoilsport.
"start talking. What's all this about?"
All right. But you're not gonna like it. The thing is, Doctor, I finally found a place where I was happy. The planet Vartigan. A backwater paradise, where no one asked any awkward questions, and a wee Gallifreyan could find herself getting up to no end of mischief. You should have seen it, Doctor. The schemes I engineered. Keep your eyebrows on. I'm getting to the good stuff. I'd been there for nearly a century when the lights fell out of the sky. It was just like Pandorath during the height of that miserable old time war. Standing there, looking up at these tumbling stars, knowing what would follow, what these lights would bring. The coming of the Daleks. I was minding my own business. Well, minding someone else's business. Torturing them, if you must know, when the Daleks arrived. I couldn't believe the gall of the monstrous little pepperpots. This was my time, my planet, and here they were, trying to muscle their way in. I wasn't about to stand for it, I can tell you. So I fetched out a quaint little grenade launcher I'd been saving for a special occasion and decided to show them exactly who was boss. But there were too many of them. The Vartigans never stood a chance. And I wasn't about to hang around and wait to be exterminated either. You should see what they're doing to those people, Doctor. They've been taking them into those domes for processing. First, they're plunged into tanks of some kind of amniotic gloop in which they're forcibly mutated in order to better fit inside the Dalek travel machines. It's really quite unsavory. And it does make them scream so. Next, their wriggling little mutant bodies, or rather, the bodies of those that survive, are wired into Dalek shells, their nervous systems overloaded so that they're kept in a constant state of agony. By this point, of course, they're already being driven quite insane, so it's only a small matter to push them completely over the edge. It's the only way to survive in one of those things, to let them in, to engage with the pathway. To start thinking like a Dalek. There's no turning back for these people, Doctor. By the time they come out of those domes, they're as much a Dalek as anything that ever left Skaro.
He was so young, so unspoiled.
And then one day, they came. Unannounced, unwelcome, roaring out of the sky, the only other spaceship to ever breathe the atmosphere of our beautiful little world.
Doctor? Doctor? I can't watch anymore. Unplug me. Now. Really, Doctor. I mean it. I need you to unplug me. This is torture. No! 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 Doctor, please unplug me! I don't want to see this. I can't see this. I know what's coming.
It was such a beautiful world. But I learned from an early age that beneath even the most pretty flower lurked an insect with a sting. We weren't ready for them. My parents could never have imagined the horror that came for us. They were too good, too kind. But I knew that these monsters would never stop. I'd read about them on the educational data streams I'd managed to intercept. I knew them for what they were. Daleks. So I did the only thing I could. I activated the defensive protocol I'd programmed into my bots. The bots didn't slow them for long, though. The Daleks were single-minded, relentless. They wanted only to wipe us from the face of our home, to exterminate us. Dad seemed to lose it then. He just went for the Dalek, swinging one of his mining lasers like a madman. I wanted to stay with Mum, but Dad took me by the arm, dragging me away. The other Daleks were coming, and the battery pack in his laser was spent. We needed another way to stop them, to buy us some time. The only thing I could think of was the automated systems I'd wired into the habitat. If I could reprogram the system, there was a chance I could slow them down. Or even destroy them. I'd stopped one of them, but the other one was closing in. And then I was alone. For the first time in my life, I had no one. I was the only living soul on that entire world. The only one that wasn't a Dalek. You might as well kill me now. There's nothing left to live for. That's when I remembered the self-destruct protocol I'd programmed into the bots. They were going off like firecrackers and taking the habitat with them. But it was enough to distract the Dalek. Everything was crashing down around me. I didn't know what else to do. I turned and ran.
When beggars die, there are no comets seen.
The pain is the thing I remember, and the numbness, both in my legs and in my heart. It all seemed so unreal, like I was waking from some terrible dream. Slowly, I opened my eyes, and I realized it was anything but a dream. It was a living nightmare. I was the only one left. Mum, Dad, they were gone. Even my bots had destroyed themselves to save me. But I was broken. In so many ways. My legs were trapped and useless. I was dying. I thought that if I could only reach the shell of that broken Dalek, I could use its life support systems to sustain me. I had to get free. And so I dug deep. I thought about Mum and Dad and what they'd say. I used their memories for strength. My mission was clear. I had only one purpose. To save the universe. To assimilate every culture, every creed. To preserve everyone I could before the Daleks obliterated them all. To defeat those monsters. The only way I knew how. By adapting. By changing. By becoming just like them. At first, those I ventured to save found it hard to understand. They could not see the beauty in it, the sacrifice they were making so that the universe might endure. But soon their fears were quelled. Soon, they learned to appreciate there is no other choice, and that to live, all must be assimilated. In the months after leaving Frasier, a succession of worlds gave way to my conversion fleet. But all the while, I knew the Daleks remained at large, still out there, still wreaking devastation across the galaxy. Time was against us. Try as I might, I could not work fast enough. I could not save everybody. And I could not save those who had already been lost. But then the annals of the Pathweb showed me the way. Out amongst the nightmare wastelands of the Alterius Drift, I found what I'd been searching for. The key to our salvation. Here, the great time war between the Daleks and the Time Lords had laid waste to an entire star system, leaving nothing but the bruised and battered husks of worlds, now long forgotten. And here, the remnants of Time Lord technology presented possibilities I could only have dreamt of back on Frasier. With time on my side, the assimilation of the universe was all but confirmed.
I'd never seen anything quite like the sight that greeted us as we approached that pyramid. The sky was filled with Daleks, buzzing about like deadly wasps attending their new hive. And there, sitting atop the apex of the pyramid like a grotesque idol, was an oversized Dalek. But this was no run-of-the-mill, exterminate everything in sight and declare itself superior pepperpot. It was a Dalek factory. And from where we were standing, it looked significantly bigger on the inside. is it you always say in these circumstances, Doctor? Oh, I know. Run! Wales, a sleepy little town called Llandaff, which I suppose might have been idyllic if you were interested in such things. It was another sign of Freya's ingenuity, hiding one of her factories away here, where she could quietly process the local population, away from the attention of the big cities. I was starting to think I might like to adopt the young woman, much like the Doctor enjoys surrounding himself with human acolytes. Although her genocidal Dalek instincts might have proved a problem, if only because all that shouting had already given me something of a headache. We arrived to find the Dalek factory was busily stamping out new model Daleks, just like the others, with human captives being herded towards their doom by a small army of Freya's monstrous hybrids. The Doctor was adamant that this time he wanted to take a look inside. He dressed it up as a plan, of course, claiming he'd have to set the factory self-destruct from the inside this time. But I knew his game. I always know his game. His curiosity was getting the better of him. No sooner had we set foot outside of his TARDIS than things finally started to get interesting. And there it was. The Daleks had finally come to police their own. And to my mind, it was long overdue. And then it was over. Oh, the look on the Doctor's face. I hadn't seen that look since our first encounter in the Neversphere. That childlike shock. That innocence. I imagine that's the expression he'll wear the day I finally kill him. As if he'd been too foolish, too naive to expect it. But then a leopard doesn't change its spots. And neither do Daleks.
Doctor? Oh, thank goodness. We've been trying to reach you. You need to get to London right away. Things are out of control. There are Daleks everywhere.
They came out of nowhere. Our worst nightmare. The very thing the Doctor had warned us about, time and again. The coming of the Daleks. We thought we were ready. But for all the early warning systems, all the years of preparation, we found ourselves utterly powerless to stop them.
Oh, don't be so melodramatic, dear. What did you expect? You're only humans, after all.
Yes, thank you for that. You do well to remember that not all of us are entirely human.
Ah, yes. You're one of those sneaky little shapeshifters, aren't you? For all the good it's done. You still rolled over and let them trundle in, didn't you? I wonder, if I killed you again, would another one just pop up and take your place? I'm tempted to give it a try.
Do we really have to put up with this?
Oh, you poor things.
They knew where to find us. We didn't have time to launch a counter-attack. All we could do was flee. Three minutes until they'd seized control, until the entire capital was lost. We scrambled as many operatives as we could, deployed troops to the streets, kick-started the evacuation. But it was too little, too late. We'd already lost.
Oh, you poor things.
We had protocols, at least. We knew where to go during a hostile takeover. And so we made it here, to a small mobile base that we keep on hand, constantly circling London. Well, most of us did. There were those who weren't so lucky.
No use crying over spilt milk. It's too late for them now. They'll already be halfway to waving a sucker about and squawking, "Exterminate!"
You really are a dreadful woman, aren't you?
Oh, that's very kind of you to say. Thank you very much.
Anyway, that's when I called for the Doctor.